We are going to talk about Firestore pagination in this full tutorial. I'm going to create an Xcode project from scratch, a brand new Firebase project, enable Firestore, and add pagination to our project. Pagination is basically fetching data on a limited scale. So let's say we have a scroll view and we want to fetch only the first that are on our screen, not the whole 100 or 1000 or 10,000 elements that are in our collection. We want to fetch only a fraction of them, and when we scroll down or maybe do a refresh on the refreshable, we want to add to those. So we want to fetch the next 5 and then the next 5 and then the next 5. As I'm scrolling down, we want to do that. So let's jump right into it. If you like this type of tutorials, maybe you want to meet with me on a one-on-one Zoom session, go ahead and check it out. Rebeloper.com/mentoring. You can book a call with me if you have any SwiftUI, iOS related questions, or you just want me to build your app, go ahead and check it out. It's at rebeloper.com/mentoring. So let's create a brand new Xcode project. By the way, this is coming, this StoreKit Pro 5 example is coming on Monday. So make sure that you subscribe if you haven't already done so. And yeah, if you do like this video, hit the like. And if you want to get notified of this new video as it comes out on Monday, hit the notification bell. Okay, so let's create a new one, a new project. And then I can just minimize this. Let's click on next right over here, and I will just name this Firestore Pagination Demo. Okay, Firestore Pagination Demo. Click on next over here. Let's put it onto our desktop. That's fine. And let me make this a little bit larger, get rid of the canvas. We're not going to need this. And first thing that we need to do basically is to just create our first, create our Firebase project and our Firestore database. So I'm copying out the bundle identifier, going to firestore.google.com, and let's go to console. Let's click on new project. I'm pasting it in and just removing the extra stuff that we don't need. Let's continue over there. I'm not going to enable Google Analytics for this, tutorial. It's useless to just clutter my analytics with this demo project. So after we have set up our Firebase project, I am going to enable Firestore because yeah, basically that's it. If you're interested in enabling analytics, storage, and all of that, there's a link in the description for the whole playlist. It's all about Firebase. So yeah, make sure to check that out. Let's hit continue. And also the mentoring link is down in the description. Okay, let's click on iOS now. And for the bundle ID, paste it in there. Let's click register. And next we are going to download the created config file. So click on here. Okay, that will download it. Let's go back to our project and just drag and drop it onto the root of your project. Of course, let's click on finish. If you have this added, maybe you're downloading a lot of info plist files and it's just adding that extra number over there. Make sure that you remove it. Okay, let's go back. Let's click on next. Then let's add our Firebase SDK as a package. So package dependencies plus, let's add that in there. And let's add a package. Conversion that I'm using in this tutorial is 10.27.0. It's the latest one. I believe it was released yesterday or the day before yesterday, so it's really fresh. Yeah, now that we are waiting, I'm just going to talk about what we are going to build. We're going to have items, so that will be our model. And we are going to add items, so we're going to create a plus button for that. And then, of course, we are going to fetch the items on a pagination way, in a paginated way. So let me just select Firestore here and Firestore Swift. Okay, let's add package. The Firestore Swift, basically, I'm just using it for extra convenience when I'm just saving the data into Firestore. Okay, so let's go back over here and let's click on next. And we want to create an app delegate file. Let's do that. Let's create a new file. Swift file. Next, in the app delegate file, we're basically going to configure the Firebase project. So just copy all of this out from here, paste it into that file, and yeah, maybe let's hit Control I while everything is selected so it's indented correctly. And then let's copy out this adapter and put it into the main file, just like right over there. And next up, we want to, well, actually, that's it. We want to continue console and we want to enable the Firestore database. So let's select that. And yeah, we're just going to set it up. We need to choose the first, you will see we need to choose the location. This cannot be changed later on, so make sure that you are choosing it wisely according where your users you think will be. And then I'm just going to start in test mode. Yeah, make sure that you check out the link in the description for the whole playlist where I talk in detail about these rules and how to manage Firestore. Basically, you should just have a rule at minimum that does not allow, or rather I would say, allows access to the database, read, write, update, delete access when the user is authenticated. But for now, this is just fine. Currently, we're just going to have access to it 30 days from today. Okay. So yeah, now what we want to do? Well, we're going to add everything into the content view. We're going to have a tab view that it's going to add some new items. So therefore, I already know that we need a navigation stack. Well, the content view should be wrapped inside a navigation stack because, you know, the toolbar item will be then visible. So we're going to create items. So before we move into the view, let's create a new file, call it item. So yeah, let's get rid of our model as soon as possible. We are going to import SwiftUI because we are going to make it identifiable. And also we are going to import Firebase Firestore because we're going to use the document ID property wrapper. So let's see what this looks like. So struct item. And it has to be identifiable, as I told you. And because we are using Firebase, Firestore's, Swift's, kind of helper functions to create and you know, code and encode and decode our models and our data. This has to be also codable. So let's add a codable right over there. So what do we need? We are going to need an ID for the identifiable. And usually just go var id of type string and maybe just give uuid string. This is fine, but this will be then stored on the Firestore database. Instead of that, let's add that property record that I was talking about. It's called @document ID, and you don't need to set a default value for it. It has to be an optional. Now, what this does is this property will not be saved on the Firestore database, but when you are using this item, well, the model in SwiftUI, for example, in the for each view, it is identifiable. As you can see, now we don't have any warnings. So what do we need right over here in the item? I'm just going to go with the minimum ones. Well, basically the minimum is creation date because I'm going to sort about in a creation date, but I'm also going to add a title. So var created at, that will be of type date, optional, and var title of string optional. I'm setting these as optional because of you know, versions. If you want to know a little bit more about how to construct all of these models, go ahead and check out my YouTube video on codables and how to make it better codable. Just search Rebeloper codable. It's one of the recent ones. Okay, so let's create our initializer because I don't want to add a created at and a title all the time. So ID, we don't need that. Created at date, I'm just going to select now. So that would be our default creation date. Yeah, we are creating it now. And for the title, let's not add nil. We're just going to have, in our case, of course, you're not going to do this, but this is just for the tutorial's sake. I'm just going to add a random string. Okay, let's remove this part, and we should be ready with our model. Okay, so now let's go into the content view. We are going to sort all of these according to the date, but I also want to present that date in in a readable fashion. So I'm just going to create a simple date formatter extension that I'm going to add to our created at date. So let's create an extension of a date formatter. It will be just a simple date formatter. So static. Let's have this display date, and that is a date formatter equals, and then let's create let formatter equals date formatter. There we go. And then let's just have on the formatter date format of I like to have minutes and seconds. Yeah, that will be the best for this tutorial. And then we are going to return this formatter. Okay, so yeah, basically that's our date formatter. What am I missing right over here? Oh, we need to initialize it with those two parentheses. Great. So that will just have its effect on our date. Now, what about the content view? Well, we are going to have, let me just remove all of this. We're going to have a list. And inside that list, we are going to have a for each on the data of items. But let's just talk about how we are actually going to fetch them. Well, we are going to have some sort of limit that we are going to impose, and that a limit will just grow over time. So let's have a state private var and then limit equals 1. Just the first one, we are just going to limit it to 1. And then here comes really powerful part. We are going to import Firebase Firestore, and there's let's just import that. Import Firebase Firestore, there we go. And there's a property wrapper that's really powerful. It's basically a listener that is listening to whatever we set up. It's called @Firestore query. Let's just have that @Firestore query. There we go. And then it has a collection path, predicates, and decoding failure strategy if you need that, and animation. We are not going to use those. So let's select collection path and predicates. Okay, so the collection path will be items. That is the name of our collection. And the predicates, we are going to have an array that is going to limit to, and I'm going to choose this one, limit to, for example, now 1. We are going to change the predicate later on, so this is just fine. We're going to limit to 1. And then let this be a private var items of type item. Okay, so this is really handy because now we don't need to fetch, we don't need to listen to the changes, all of that. This property wrapper takes care of that. So now I will uncomment, comment back our for each, and then all I have to do is just add the items right over there, and then we are going to have an item in, and yeah, for now let's just have a text of item dot title, just like that. It's just fine. And because this is an optional one, I'm just going to set the default value of empty string. Okay, that's fine for now. We are going to add here some more. We are going to create a cell and all of this. So while we're at it, let's just create that cell. So cell, and we are going to add into that cell an item, and it's going to return some view. There we go. And then let's just copy out this for now. There we go. And then just cell, and just passing along that item. You see, I like to have this separation of these views into separate functions that are returning some sort of views. For now, the text is just fine. So let's just add a new button. So we are going to have a toolbar with a content, and let's have a toolbar item. And with a placement, let's just have that and a primary action. And then we are going to have a button on that toolbar item. Let's just have this as an action and label. Basically, those are my favorite because on the label now I can just add an image, system named, plus is fine for now. And what about the button code? Yeah, so we are going to basically save a new item. As you can see, we have a custom initializer. Well, custom. It is the initializer that has all the values. So I can just say item to parentheses, and that will be our random item. That's fine for now. We are going to use Firestore. So it's a throwing function. I don't care about the errors for now. Maybe you want to add this into a do catch statement, but try question mark is fine for now. Let's just go firestore.firestore. The collection path is items. So that's the collection's name. And then we are going to create a document with, of course, a random UID as its key. And then set data. And you want to go all the way down with the from. And you see there's an encoder. We didn't care about the completion. And now this is from Firebase Firestore Swift. It's already incorporated in the Firebase Firestore framework, so you don't have to import it again. But here you go. We just go set from, and you want to add an encodable. Now the item is already codable, which means it's decodable and encodable. So I'm just going to create a new item right over here, just like that. And this line of code will basically save a new item to our database. So yeah, let's just see this in action. And yeah, hopefully we are going to see some items on the database. Let's just wait for this to build and run. Well, till we wait for that, let's just add a count for our, so we can see basically where are, how much of our items, how many of our items we have fetched. I'm going to add that to the principal, and on content, I'm just going to have a text. The principal is basically the navigation title. It's going to override the navigation title, just so you know, if you have set that up. So we are going to add in here our items, item, come on. Just a second, I'm going to jump into the simulator also. Items.count, and let's just make this bold so we can see it. Okay, so let's build and run. So Command R, I hit Command R again. Okay, it's a building. There we go. I'm just going to take a sip of water till it loads. I'm going to remove this part. Let me move my simulator over here so we can see it a little bit better. Is it launching? Let me just build and run once more. Yeah, a little bit of pause over here because we had a lot of code. Great. Okay, so it's launching, it's 0. Of course, we don't have any items. So let's click on plus right over here. And as you can see, this is already a listener. So as we clicked on the plus button, it's already there. We have that random string. By the way, let's just check on the database too. Let's wait for this to load. We have the items collection, and then we have our first item. And we have the created at and title. So yeah, let's just create that cell now. So it would be much more readable. So on this cell, we are going to replace that text. And we are going to replace it with basically a vertical stack. Let's just have this vertical stack. And the text of item title, maybe just add here not available, and let's have a line limit. I didn't like that, it's in 2 lines, so let's have a line limit of 1. And then if we do have a valid date, then we are going to present it. So if let date equals item dot created at, it's an optional, so we want to make sure that it's not nil. Then we are going to have a text of date, and we are going to have a formatter, not a format, but a formatter. And we're going to add our created formatter, date formatter dot display date, just like that. Let's have a foreground style of gray, and then also a font of dot caption, and let's also make this bold. Okay, so let's just build and run and see how this nice cell looks like. Just wait for it. There we go. Much nicer, right? So yeah, maybe I just want to have also an alignment of dot leading right over there. Okay, so the cell is done. Now, what do we want to do when we are basically going to present the last element? Well, that's interesting because we want to fetch the next, I don't know, next 10 or 5 of our items. So let's do the actual fetch, and then I'm going to show you how to add all of this onto the views. So let's create a new function right over here, func fetch, and let's call this next, and that will be our int value. So we could just fetch how much we'd like, and you will see that we are going to also fetch 1 and 5, or maybe even more. Fair. So what we are going to do now is we are going to increase the limit, in limit plus equals, and that next. Okay, so that would be our limit, and then we are going to change the predicates of that Firestore query. How to do that? We just access that through the $sign items, and then go predicates, and then you just set your new predicates. Of course, you want to kind of do the same, so I would just go order by and descending, order by created at, so created at, and descending true. And also I want to limit it, so comma, because this is an array, dot limit to, and then just go with a limit. So this is how we are basically updating the items predicates, which will trigger a new fetch, which is really, really great. So how is the actual logic right over here? Well, we want to trigger and fetch the next, let's say 5, when the last cell is appeared. And then when we scroll down again, when the last cell appeared, we want to fetch it. So we want to have an onAppear right over here on the cell, and we say if items dot last, and you want to grab something unique. Now this could be a unique UID, not the ID that we have with the document ID, but something unique. In our case, it's the title. Remember, we had set up a UUID, but you want to have something unique. You want to compare against. So dot, and in my case, it's just title equals to this items dot title. Now we know that we appeared, well, we presented. The last cell did appear. Then we will say fetch the next 5. That's great. Okay. Where else do we need to add this fetch? Well, we also, you see, we did not have anything on the view, therefore it appeared. But what if we have more? So we are just having all of the view with many items. Well, when we add a new item, we want to fetch the next one. So that is going to also fetch it. And while we are at it, this is really, really fine, but I'm also going to add a refreshable just so that we can fetch the next 5 when we are also refreshing, which is, kind of great. So Now let's build and run and see if actually all of this, it compiles and works as expected. For now, we have only one item, which is great. This is what we are expecting. And if we just refresh, it's not going to anything. And this item has already appeared, and we don't have more items on the database, so it's just not going to fetch anymore. So let's just add a few. So let's just add quite a few. And as you can see, I'm just adding all of these there, and it's just adding it in a chronological order. So this was second 23, and then 24, and then the next one is 33. So I'm just getting quite a lot. I'm just going to stop here just for testing purposes. Let's just build and run once more, and let's just see how it's just going to fetch it. Because you will kind of, well, it just fetched it automatically already. Okay, but if you are having kind of a laggy internet connection, then it will just fetch the first one, and then the next 5, and then the next 5, and in our case, the next 3. Okay, so let's just add some more. Just add some really more. So let's just add maybe 30. Okay, so we have 30 right over here. Let's close the app. And then, and by the way, we could just double check that we have all of those already created. Okay, so let's build and run. And now you will see that it's just going to fetch the first 16. And that's because on the peer, this is how much it just, needed to fetch. Now, if I scroll down and get to the last one, it will just fetch the next 5. As you can see, it just jump up to the 21. And then it jumped up 26 and all the way to 30, and that's just it. Okay, so let me just show you how we can also fetch with the refreshable. And this is how we just paginate. You don't want to fetch everything. 16 again, and then refresh, and you just added those next 5 basically. And that's it. That's how you paginate. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, maybe you want to have a mentoring session with me. You want to escape tutorial, hey? Hell, go ahead and check out rebeloper.com/mentoring, where I can teach you Swift, SwiftUI, iOS development, or I can debug your code. Go ahead and check it out. It's at rebeloper.com/mentoring, and I will see you in the next one.